What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, keeping you up to date with the latest Destiny 2 news and information. And today we've got quite a bit of new Destiny 2 news. Now, this is coming from an IGN article, which of course will be linked in the description down below. IGN for the past month or so has been covering new Destiny 2 topics pretty much every day, putting out a video or an article. Today is kind of the wrap-up day for that event, and they ended it with a Q&A. So Bungie went in and answered a bunch of questions that IGN had selected. So of course, we are going to bring you the information that all of those answers had. Now first, really quickly guys, yesterday I made a video about Destiny 2 news, and I'm mentioning it because YouTube did not properly give out sub notifications, so a lot of you guys probably didn't see it. But in that video we talked about the beta date for the PC Destiny 2 beta. We talked about PC minimum and recommended specs and a bunch more stuff. I would recommend watching it if you didn't catch it. Now, moving on to today's news, let's kind of break everything down with the first, I would say, not main piece of information, but certainly the most exciting piece of information. The question being asked was about theater mode, with someone asking if Destiny 2 would have theater mode and if you could still do the sword glitch that's in Destiny 1 to help make fan films. Well, Mark Noseworthy replied that unfortunately no, Destiny 2 would not have a theater mode, but also he says, quote, "We've changed a lot of the code and the content under the hood for how things work, including swords, in brackets, for which there are now many types." That is telling. He said, not that there are many swords. That would already be really sweet. Going out and saying, yep, there is a bunch of swords in Destiny 2, way more than Destiny 1. Swords were definitely a fan favorite. I love using them, so that would already be good news. But he didn't say many swords. He specifically said there are now many types. Types of swords. What does that mean? What is a different type of sword? Isn't a sword just a sword? Well, I have a strong feeling that what this means is that different types of swords will function differently within their melee capabilities. For example, you may be able to get a katana type sword, which we have already seen within gameplay trailers right here. So katanas could, for example, swing faster than normal, have faster attacks, but do less damage to balance them out. You could also presumably have massive long swords that have a huge area of effect, will damage multiple enemies with a single swing and do a lot of damage, but swing incredibly slowly, therefore making you more vulnerable if you don't set it up properly. Then of course you could have normal swords. You could have short swords that have much less of a melee range, like they don't lunge anywhere near as far, but they swing extremely fast. So this, which was all kind of wish list talk not too long ago, is now actually a reality. That is extremely likely to happen, as admitted by Mark Noseworthy, because there are different sword types. Lots of different sword types, apparently. But moving on from there, we have even more information to cover. Firstly, it was said that Destiny 2 is going to be somewhat easier to update than Destiny 1, with Bungie admitting that there will be more updates and more content more often than in Destiny 1, which is great. There was a lot of content lulls in Destiny 1, and it's good to hear that that will be minimized as much as possible in Destiny 2. Moving on from there, there was a question about HDR, high dynamic range, for televisions in Destiny 2. Apparently there's going to be no HDR at launch for Destiny 2, although it will support up to 4K. However, Bungie admitted that they are excited by HDR as a new technology and they will try to implement it into Destiny 2 in the future, but again, it won't be at launch. And moving on, just thought I'd mention it, but someone asked about the raid. When will the raid be in relation to the launch? And they said, we're not telling you anything about that, so there you go. After that, they talked about vehicles, and apparently there is no multi-passenger vehicles in Destiny 2. So all of those tanks that you saw in the gameplay trailers, they can only hold one person at a time. And that's a little disappointing. I mean, I would assume you could get those kinds of vehicles within strikes or patrol mode activities, and therefore you're likely going to have a fire team. Heck, if you can find those during a strike, Bungie forces you to have a fire team because it has matchmaking involved with those activities. So you're always going to have 2 extra people. It's going to be kind of annoying that only one person can go in the tank. I hope Bungie, maybe in a future expansion, implements vehicles that can have a tank and a gunner, for example, because yeah, one person only in each vehicle, that's a little sad. And moving on from there, Bungie confirmed that your character, your Guardian, will not talk throughout the entirety of Destiny 2. Now this is kind of an interesting topic because people are pretty split down the line whether they love this or they hate this. Many people do like it because it is a technique that people use to let you identify with that character way more easily. If that character never talks, you can more easily put you in that character's shoes. Whereas, you know, if it's a burly man talking and you're a girl playing, you're going to be out of place and vice versa. But, however, on the other hand, a lot of people feel like, hey, why don't put the extra effort to actually have my character have an opinion, have a voice, and then maybe depending on which character I've selected, have multiple voices. Very famously, Mass Effect did, if you selected Femme Shep, it would have a certain voice actor acting it, a woman actor, and if you selected Male Shepard, it'd be a completely different actor, and both voice actors did a fantastic job voicing that character. Now what Mass Effect didn't have is a little sidekick called a ghost that is beside you at literally all times to do all exposition for you, so that is a little bit of a point in Destiny's favor, but again, that is the answer to that subject. You will not hear a peep from your Destiny character. And moving on from there, we got some exciting news about changes coming to Destiny 2 because of what players had given feedback on in the Destiny 2 beta. So, changes that Bungie had already been looking at making, but the beta confirmed that these changes would be implemented are, firstly, grenades are going to be more powerful, especially in PvE. Good, because grenades felt bad in PvE for 2 reasons. Firstly, they took quite a while to charge, and secondly, when they finally did charge and you used them, they had a hard time even killing base enemies. Secondly, kinetic and energy weapons are going to do more damage in PvE. That's something I didn't even consider, but now you're going to be a lot more of a killing machine in Destiny 2 when the full game comes out because of that. In addition to that, there's going to be much more power ammo that has been made available. Not only will it drop more often, but also certain enemies are guaranteed to drop power ammo for your fire team. So those are 3 things that are all great. And again, Bungie was already looking at implementing this, and then the beta came along, people basically wanted these things, so they said, yep, these are the right decisions we're making. Now, another change that they weren't necessarily going to make, but they are going to make now because of the Destiny 2 beta, is that super regeneration has been increased across the board. So, if you're playing a PvP match, you are going to get your super more often. I know people were very much upset about that. They'd play an entire game of the Crucible, and in the last 15 seconds, they would get their super. Now, apparently, that's been increased, so you're going to be able to maybe even get 2 supers in a single game. I know, impossible, but apparently it's going to happen. Also, of course, this will very much help PvE. A lot of players were very upset that they would do an entire strike and get their super twice, maybe. So now, hopefully, that'll be kicked up and you'll see a lot more super usage in PvE activities. So those are all great things. Those are big complaints that I saw from a lot of people, and I think they're quite justified complaints, but these are already things that Bungie is addressing for the full game, which is exactly what you want. This is what you want a beta to accomplish. So this is all great news. In any event, guys, that is it for the Destiny 2 news coming out today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. And if you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.